Welcome to SciTech Culture with Steve Kern and Ben Warner, where we examine science, technology, and culture in the 21st century. Visit our website at scitechculture.com. Hello and welcome to SciTech Culture, the show where we discuss science, technology, and culture in its myriad of forms. My name is Ben Warner, and I'm joined once again by my good friend and colleague, Steve Kern. How are we today, Steve?
I'm good, thanks, Ben. Nice sunny day here, so it's spirits are up.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be heading out this afternoon. It feels like an age since we we could venture outside in some good weather. Now, today we're going to be talking about privacy settings and how to navigate through them. And this is really just a recent phenomenon, really, in the social media age. But there's so many other areas that you really have to watch what your privacy settings are doing if you don't take the time to go in there and actually set them properly. Facebook's always been a famous one for its privacy settings and changing them at a whim and all of that. But before we get into the social media ones, I just wanted to start off with Windows 10. A year ago when it was released, it copped Microsoft copped flack from the fact that it appeared that it was drawing your personal information back to the Microsoft server for, they were claiming it was to improve the experiences and et cetera, which a lot of these other companies have done to make Cortana better and all that. But the main problem was that it didn't really, on setup, it didn't give you as an easy way to opt out of it. And the interesting thing is the anniversary update came out just the other day, and it had a full setup routine for whatever reason. I figured it was still Windows 10. I didn't know why I was answering all these questions again, but it came to the privacy part, and I actually noticed a distinct difference between what happened last year and what it was showing me. And basically it was questions for the layman kind of thing. It wasn't. It was very easy to understand, and it forced you to make a choice before it would go on to the next thing. So you'd have, it was maybe 5, 6, 7 questions. Do you send diagnostic data to Microsoft? Do you want Cortana to mine your contacts or other information to provide a better experience? And it would have like this: are you sure you want to do this? And it was very in your face and almost impossible to. You couldn't start using the system until you'd answered all of these questions to the way you wanted them to. So I thought that was interesting, and why couldn't they do that in the first place? Is a question I'd like to ask.
I think this is a very tricky situation. You've got, for your companies that have to provide the privacy settings, they're wedged between, if they ask them up front, people think, oh my God, they're trying to invade my privacy. If they try and put them in the background, then they're not visible enough. And they have to ask the questions directly, and they have to ask things like, are you sure? Because they do that when you try and click out of an app, so it's a really difficult situation. But I think what's important is that really on every app we use, whether it's on desktop or mobile, there are privacy settings. And they're just things that you need to be wary of. You might not care, that's fine, that's great. You might care, that's fine, that's great. But if you don't even think about it, your data is being shared, and what it means is that you can be looking through something, in one account, and that's providing information to another browser window, or another app about what you're doing. And that can be a good thing, or it might be something that you don't want at all.
If we have a look at Facebook now, which obviously is sort of a nice meter to gauge in terms of the overall thing with their checkered history with privacy, I guess having a look at the way they've structured their settings tab now, it feels a lot more accessible than what it used to be in the past. And I know that from even when I was looking at it, and I know my way around a computer, that I found it daunting in the first instances, like several years ago when they started implementing this. And it seems like now they must have gotten some user testing in where, people who unless they see it really clearly and can understand,
Yeah.
who are intimidated by tech and software, that even if they could answer it, and it felt like they've changed the questions that way, or the settings, the visual design of the settings to be that,
Yeah.
to be a lot better than what it was before. But I'm wondering if all of this is that, and this is where a lot of these companies get into trouble, is that they turn these things on by default. I mean, that's the reason why Windows 10 and Microsoft got the flack it did the first year, because it's like they switched these things on by default, and you had to go back and switch them off without having that option up front.
Look, I think that's fair, because if they all start off, then a lot of apps or third-party software won't work with them. So one of the reasons Facebook is actually pretty good with its privacy settings now, and the controls over not just what happens and appears on Facebook, but how Facebook interacts with third-party apps or other, I guess, digital environments. And you can sign in now with your Facebook app into another app or onto a website. So Facebook has to exchange that information to create a login. You really need to take it on yourself to go inside the Facebook privacy settings and the platform settings and, any other third-party app settings that there are, especially in the mobile app, and toggle them to however you want. And the simple rule is, if in doubt, block it out.
Yeah. And the scary thing is that you get so many people who either choose not to or are oblivious to privacy settings in general. So Facebook, as another example, you could actually just type their name into Google, and then all of a sudden all their photos and posting history just comes up because they haven't taken the time to go in there and actually switch it all off.
Yeah, so if you look at third-party apps, social apps especially, where you log in using your Facebook account, all that information comes in. You're on the third-party app. You might think that you're, I don't know, anonymous kind of, but a lot of that data comes through, and people can put together a name, an interest, search it back on Facebook. So, you've just got to be careful with all of that, I think, and also. This is just the data sharing between the apps as well. And then all your Facebook data, all your friends on Facebook, the people you post to on Facebook, the things you post on Facebook, sure, they're not transferred in the foreground, but they're all transferred in the background to the third-party app. Do you want that? That's the question you have to ask yourself. It's not good, it's not bad. The question is, if you don't want it to go, then it's bad if it's going.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess another to take it into another viewpoint is something like Google Maps, which say if you look at either Android or iOS as an example, if you've got like a location services function activated on there, and most people aren't aware, like I was digging through my iPhone the other day, and you go through a couple of layers through the settings tab, and you can actually pull up your basically your location history, and and your phone is storing this in the background. Now you can, I believe you can turn it off by turning location services off. Obviously you lose a lot of functionality that you might have found convenient, but I've heard of stories of people getting freaked out by this, where they, my phone, like, you go, you open it up for them and you show them, and then all of a sudden it's got like the last, I don't know, however many months or whatever of, I could see you're, you're in Sydney on that day, or I can see you were taking the train to some suburb somewhere or whatever. And that's also something, I think it's, it could also potentially be overwhelming, the amount of different places that this comes into effect. Some people might just be thinking, it's a Facebook thing or a social media thing, something on Twitter, but actually it's across the board everywhere.
Yeah, and I think this is the big unknown. What's disconcerting about it, as you say, Ben, is the fact that suddenly it's in your face. Yeah. And you don't even remember where you were at all those times. But then you realise that it's there. You know, it could be your Google search that's got it. It could be any one of these apps that's got it. And that could be shared across every social app you use.
Yeah.
Where you were when you made that communication, where you were when you sent that phone call, text, when you searched for the nearest local pizza bar. You know, and as I say, this is not necessarily something to be scared about, but it's something to be aware of, because that data exists.
Yeah.
And the question is, do you want that data out there? So every app, every platform you go to, check. I mean, people forget that on Google, even if you're not logged in, there's a privacy setting to stop it, like, sharing your data and tracking you. It's like, once again, you've just, in this day and age, if you do want to have some degree of privacy, because there is no such thing as privacy on the internet, but if you want some degree of privacy, it's up to you to search it for it.
And I guess what about this broader question of, we probably in the span of 10, 15 years, we went from basically a culture and society that was afraid to even do a $5 banking transaction online, to doing everything and not caring about, not caring as a generalization, but a lot of people not caring about what they post at any time and keeping it so open. I'm sure it's a broad answer, but it seems like perhaps there was the seduction of all of these services that we got at the cost of our privacy that somehow managed to change our minds on that.
Well, yeah, it's so easy and so convenient now.
Yeah.
So what? You've got a device in your pocket. You don't think twice. And really, I don't think anyone needs to be terminally afraid. But the things you post are out there. The things you're doing are out there. And, even if we look at Twitter, people probably think, oh, well, what's privacy on Twitter? Well, as we covered, I think, a while back, if you don't lock down your privacy on Twitter, it means third parties can own your tweets.
Yeah.
It's these are the things. So then you close your Twitter account. Maybe you said something you didn't want or something, whatever. You're sick of Twitter. But all those tweets are held for eternity on a third-party site. So these are all the questions that, you just need to be aware of as anyone who uses the internet. And, whatever you do, whatever you say, think about, do you want everyone in the world to know about it? Yep. Do you want all that data stored? Do you want people to know where you get your pizza from?
Yes. Bad pizza and all. Just wanted to mention before we start wrapping it up, there's a website that I came across called staysafeonline.org. And it goes through a number of the major social networks, browsers, I think operating systems, all sorts of things. And it'll actually go through the actual settings of each of those things and how to actually navigate through all of them, which is a handy service to have there, that someone's put that up. But I guess broadly speaking, it's like anything when you're using technology, is that it doesn't have to be as daunting as what you think it is. You just have to be aware. You just have make that conscious decision of going in there, making sure you can find it. Google, if you can't find that staysafeonline.org website, just Google, how do I update Facebook privacy settings? Yep. You'll get a link and it'll give you instructions. And that's the most important thing. Educate yourself about how to do all of these things.
That's right. You can try and toggle your privacy settings with confidence, because even if you get it wrong, it's not going to break anything.
No.
And if you consider that at the start that they're all open, then basically anything you toggle is probably reducing the amount of information you're sharing.
Yep.
The only other thing I'd say is, if in doubt, block it out.
Yep, absolutely. Wise words to end on. So thanks again for that, Steve, and for this very public discussion, of course, that we're going to post and is going to be there for eternity. I think we mentioned previously this in other contexts that privacy could become an issue beyond what we're discussing if there's ever any sort of major breach that shatters our sort of faith in the system. We haven't seen something approaching that yet that's really shaken the foundations of that sort of thing, but it'd be good to sort of keep checking in and seeing where it goes as far as all that's concerned.
Absolutely. And I think, if there is going to be that breach that shakes us, it'll be through something like this. And I think probably be through social media.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so don't forget our website, SciTechCulture.com. You can get all of our links and content there. You can interact with us on Twitter, Google+, and Facebook, so I'd love to hear from you. And if you have anyone that might be interested in these discussions that Steve and I have on a regular basis, feel free to send them to SciTechCulture.com. We'd greatly appreciate that. All right, so that's it for this episode. We'll catch you next time.